Welcome to this Blender tutorial on how to create a very simple tree using a couple of cubes. When you load Blender, you may get something that appears like this. What we're going to do is we're going to click away from the splash screen and it gives us our 3D viewport. This is where we're going to be doing a lot of our work. And we have 3 items in here, and to select in Blender we're going to be using the right mouse button. So on the left hand side we have a camera. This is what we're going to be looking through. We have a light on the top right, and in the center this is the item that we're focusing on, which is at the moment just a cube. And as you can see, the light is at the top right hand side of the cube, the camera is looking at it, and what we can actually do now is we can render this scene and see what that looks like by pressing F12. I press F12 and you can see the cube's there with the light coming from the right, or coming from the top right hand side. To get out of this view we hit escape. So what we can also do is we can navigate around this 3D viewport by using this mouse wheel to scroll in and out. If I hold down the mouse wheel, then I can rotate around the cube in the center, and this allows me to see things from all sorts of different angles. I'll zoom in slightly, that's probably about right, slightly there. Now this cube doesn't look much like a tree, so we're going to have to edit the cube and add some other features. But the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to clear the scene, and I'm going to click delete and then I'm going to press enter, and that gets rid of the cube in the center. So I need to start off with another cube, and we're going to turn that into the tree trunk. Over here on the left hand side we have a create tab. Inside create we have a variety of things we can create. We're going to be focusing on creating a cube for the moment and using that as our tree trunk. And again it appears in the center. So this cube here isn't ideal, and what we need to do is we need to start changing this cube, changing the size of it, changing the shape of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the S key on my keyboard, and by just moving the mouse I can shrink that cube down to something quite small. That's going to be the trunk of our tree. Now you can probably tell it's quite small at the moment, and that isn't going to be good enough for a trunk. We're going to have to stretch it. By pressing F12 you can see what I mean. That doesn't look much like a tree to me. So hit escape again to get out of that view, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this top face and we're going to stretch it upwards. So we need to go to a different mode. Down here where it says object mode, we're going to go to edit mode. This allows me to edit the top face, that top surface. But at the moment you can see that it's only selecting the corners. Using this little panel here we're going to select face, and on face select it allows me with the right hand mouse button to select that face and to drag it upwards like so. If I want to let go I can just press the left mouse button to do that for me. There we go. Go back to F12 and you'll see I'm starting to get something that resembles a tree. Well, a tree trunk at least. Now hit escape. This at the moment is just a tree trunk. We need to add some foliage, and to add some foliage what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a couple of cubes. It's a very simple tree after all. So what I'm going to do is you've got to be careful here, I need to go back to, down here, back to object mode. Now I'm in object mode, I don't want to select that anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the A key. So I've got nothing selected now, and what I can do on the left hand side is I can add another cube. So under create cube I add another cube. Now it doesn't look much like foliage. You should be on the top of a trunk, not at the base of a trunk. So what I'm going to do with this cube is I'm going to be moving it, and to move it we use the G key or the grab key. So I hit G and it allows me to now move this cube anywhere I want, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick it up there, and I'm going to add another cube, and again with the G key I'm going to just stick it up there like so, and I'm going to add another cube. Oops, sorry, let's just put that down there. Back to cube, and with the G key I'm going to add it there. And let's see what that looks like. If I go to F12, well, it's kind of getting there, but they're probably a little bit big. So escape to go back to your view. What we're going to do, as you may remember from earlier, is we're going to use the S key, and the S key allows me to shrink down each of these by selecting the right hand mouse button, pressing S, moving the mouse, and then we can start to actually create some smaller bits of foliage. So I put that in there, I press F12 again to look at this, and we have something that kind of resembles a tree. Bit of a problem there at the front, but it's getting there. One last thing, if you want to make this slightly more tree-like, let's say, by rotating some of the foliage, you can select one of the cubes, press the R key, so R for rotate, and that allows me to rotate some of these cubes, and all of a sudden I should have something that looks a bit more tree-like, I hope. F12, and there I have a very simple tree.